As a teenager, Zhang Lijia worked in a Nanjing factory producing intercontinental ballistic missiles, queuing every month to give evidence to the period police that she wasn't pregnant. But she dreamed of another, less totalitarian existence as a writer in a freer environment.
Socialism is Great is the title of Zhang Lijia's book, a memoir. Today, Zhang Lijia is a writer and journalist. In the 1980s, she was a factory worker. The book's title is the title of a song that used to be sung in the factory. Lijia was born in Nanjing in 1964. At 16, she was forced to quit school and take a job in the state-owned Liming missile factory to replace her retiring mother. The position was considered an iron rice bowl job, permanent security.
To be a good child meant 听话, to listen to words, a phrase that conveyed obedience, the most desirable quality for Chinese children, so I listen.
Lijia originally called her book Frog in the Well, an idiom that refers to an individual who sees little of the outside world, just the narrow patch of sky from the bottom of the well. Although stuck in the factory, Lijia wanted to continue her education and dreamed of being a writer or a journalist. But she had no choice but to be a Tinghua child. She worked in the factory for 10 years, a decade of life in the well.
I never got any promotion because my boss thought I wear a perm. Actually, I'm one of the few Chinese that actually got naturally curly hair. In those days, only people with bourgeoisie outlook in life would wear perm, so I didn't have the correct ideology. I didn't deserve promotion, lots of things like that. It was no personal life.
I could easily picture my future, mechanically testing pressure gauges with greasy hands and an empty brain. With luck, I would marry one of the factory hands. Most of my fellow workers intermarried and live in one of those tiny flats in a great building. Our child, born at the Liming Hospital, would then go to the Liming Kindergarten and then primary school, all within the formidable great empire.
Desperation made Lijia rebellious. Determined to escape from the life laid out for her, she taught herself English by reading books and dictionaries, attending English language groups and listening to BBC programs. The language opened the door to a broader view of the world. Lijia says she likes stories about the underdog, stories in which individuals from poor circumstances fight hard to improve their fate, stories such as Great Expectations and Jane Eyre. In 1989, Lijia organized a workers' protest in Nanjing to support the students in Tiananmen Square.
If we get freedom of the press, I'll certainly try to be a journalist, I declare with childish enthusiasm. Can you imagine how exciting it would be to cover events like this?
Her determination and hard work finally paid off. Lijia moved to London to study creative writing in 2003. She has now had many articles published in international newspapers and magazines. She feels that her long journey into this new life, from a factory worker to a writer, reflects the process of democratization in China, rocky and slow.
When we first entered the factory, so lots of control. But now people enjoy so much more personal freedom. You can choose where you live or how you live your life. You can dye your hair, you can, curl your wear perm, shave off your hair. I think this is really quite remarkable that we achieve the personal freedom. And now there's a lot more personal freedom. So there's still cage, there's still control, but for many people the cage has grown so big they often don't feel the limit. But I'm also glad to see there are still people willing to fight, to push back the cages. What's been happening in Wukang and in Guangdong province, the fishing village, people staged a series of protests against the corrupt officials and land grab. So I think and also in the end, how the issue has been peacefully solved, and because the provincial leaders made a concession. So they realized that the ordinary people now, even farmers, now have started to demand more democracy, equality, and human rights.
Lijia says that broader improvements came after the 1989 crackdown, when Deng Xiaoping toured southern China to reaffirm his support for opening up the country economically.
Deng Xiaoping had the tour because after 1989 the economy was very sluggish, and politically people who were conservative didn't know what to do, because some people blamed the 1989 what happened to the liberal-minded people. They did not sure if the economic reform would continue or not. So the tour kind of set the direction. So China can continue economic reform and probably slow political relaxation in some ways, not Western style democracy.